Hey everybody, it's 80s Music Girl here. Very first fledgling podcast. Looking back, mother and daughter's jaunt, a retro jaunt through 80s music. I have my daughter here, my beautiful Lisamarie. Say hi.
Hello.
And we have our very first guest, the one and only Kev Crane. And if you don't know about Kev Crane, you've obviously been living under a rock. Say hi, Kev.
Hi, everybody. Nice to
All
meet you.
right. Yeah, so this is great. So there might be a few technical issues that happen, but that's what happens. So Kev, since I've got you here and I just recently met you, probably like a month ago, I think.
Yeah, I think we started just sort of like liking each other's stuff, didn't we? And sort of
Yeah.
copying each other's on each other's bits and bobs, and just
Yeah.
got chatting. And I heard your amazing songs.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Which were absolutely, I loved them. Absolutely.
And then, as fate would have it, Kev started introducing me. He would tag me in videos. He's making a studio, and I'm thinking like, okay, this is exciting. I think, I wasn't sure what to think of it. All this time, not even realizing what he was preparing for. And I want you to give us all a brief overview of why you were doing that.
Right. So where would you like me to start?
I want you to start where you were putting some bathroom fittings in a record label.
Yeah, right. So basically, I'll try not to bore everybody to death. I got a phone call because I'm a bathroom fitter. Used to be a singer 20 years ago, and I got a phone call to do a quote for 3 bathrooms. I went to do the quote, started the bathrooms about 6 months later, and he just turned out to own a record label, and he was a music producer. But during lockdown, he'd set this label up, this record label up. At the same time as he set this label up during lockdown, I'd decided to build a recording studio in my basement and finish this album that I'd started 25 years ago. I just thought, I don't want to watch telly every day. I want to do something a bit productive. So I thought, right, I'm going to do it, as you do. And that's what I did. So I started at his house, and I had this 8-track album, and I was singing away in his bathroom to the radio. His neighbours said, "Who's that guy in your bathroom singing?" He said, "It's the plumber. He's fitting my bathrooms." And we got chatting, and he said, well, I want to let me listen to it. Let me listen to the album. So I sent it to him on a Friday because I still had about 5 weeks left at his house. I thought, if I send it to him on a Friday, come Monday, if he doesn't like it, I can just carry on with my work. Do you know what I mean? And not be, we can just forget about it. But on the Monday came, and he says, I really like it. He says, it's pointless sitting on your hard drive. Do you want to release it on my record label? So I was like, oh yeah, okay then. And then after that, I've got a friend in the village where I live who used to be a journalist. Now she teaches journalism. And I just said to her, messing about one day, I said, "Oh, you'll have to interview me." And she says, "Yeah, okay, I'll interview you." So she interviewed me, and then, just for a bit of fun, the next day, she messaged me. She says, "Kev," she says, how would you feel about going live on the BBC? I was like, what? I don't know if I can do that. She says, "Well, I've sent it to my friend at the BBC because the story's incredible. And they want you on the show." And I said, "Yeah, okay then." And that was it. Then it just took off, and then it went all around the world. It went in the Washington Post, went all over the UK to start with, and then the Washington Post, And then it got to the point where it got to America, obviously the Washington Post America. And yeah, and Stacey Sherman Ray, Billy Ray's wife, who's, as you know, is the who did Hunger Games and Captain Phillips and whatnot. His wife messaged me, says I'm a movie producer, and I love your story. I'd like to chat with you. But at the same time, the Ellen Show messaged me.
Wow.
And me and my wife were both sat in a pub and we was getting loads of messages for interviews and this, that, and the other. But they both wanted us the day after about the same time. So, well, we're going to have to choose what we're going to do because, you know, if we try and reschedule one, we're going to lose it. Probably going to lose it. So I thought, well, you know, a film producer is probably going to be more longevity. Right. Ellen Show could be a one-off.
Yeah.
So yeah, we sort of had to turn the Ellen Show down and went with the movie producer, and then I spoke to her the day after.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this record deal, and then about a week later, I was now speaking to Stacey Sherman Ray, and we was chatting like we're chatting now, and she listened to my story. She said I'd like to do basically a biopic on your life story, a movie on your life story, and I'd like to, you know, move with this quickly. And then I signed a 18-month contract. Now I signed a full contract, and it's been written. Billy's done some of the scripts. Ian LaFrene and Dick Clement have written the story, and they did the Commitments, Bank Job. In England, there was a program called Porridge, which is a very big program in the UK. And Alf Wiedersehen, Pat, they were big writers.
Yeah.
And it just that whole week went from that to now. Here we are, and I'm talking to you.
I know.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy.
It sounds so scary. All that sounds like it happened like rapidly, like overnight, you know, and that's just like, oh my gosh.
Boom, boom. And then
me anxiety.
oh yeah, tell me about it.
All these TV crews just turning up to the house, and news crews, and then going on live TV, and it was all just like so new to me. I'd never done it before. So I tried 25 years ago, but I didn't make it. Gave it up at 30. Yeah. We're going to do it. It was about 29, 30. I thought, I've had me go, you know, time to get a real job. And here I am, 25 years later, with this amazing opportunity.
And then it's a thing in itself too, because it just goes to show you're never too old to make the dream happen. And one of my favorite parts, because I'm absolutely in love with this woman, that he left out is he got a shout out on the Drew Barrymore show. And she was like talking with her co-host, and he was just like laying it down, spilling the tea, doing all the things. And I think later on, Billy actually was considering her for the role of your wife.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Jude Law.
Jude Law gets to play him.
Or Jason Statham.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Either way, we're down.
I would not mind either.
Okay, so you're young, you're British, you hang out in pubs, surely there's got to be a brawl in there somewhere. Give Jason something to do. He's gonna punch somebody.
Well, yeah, I think there is probably a bit of that in the script actually, because I've actually got the script. I've got the script myself. I've got it. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So I'm a big Depeche Mode fan.
Yeah, you are.
So part of the story, involves me and my best friend following Depeche Mode around. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's quite.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I think today, because we're talking about 80s music, and I remember you saying what your favorite 80s song is, maybe you could expand on that a little bit and just tell me because I know it was like being in America in the 80s. What was it like living in the UK in the 80s?
Oh gosh. It was. I preferred it to how it is now.
Okay.
I mean, now a lot of you had your first consoles, game consoles, and like I don't know if you had like the Spectrum 48Ks and Commodore 64s, and these those first game consoles, Atari, stuff like that.
We had that.
Okay, got that last one.
Yeah. So we had all that, and there was obviously no mobile phones, there was none of this. So you was out on your bike, you was out having fun with friends. All the high street shops were open. Now it's a lot different. It's like, you used to buy that record, you used to buy that vinyl or that CD, and you used to read, you know what I mean. You used to read the label, you used to read the cover, and that smell of that vinyl, the smell of the vinyl.
Yeah.
Everything's just so throwaway now.
Yeah.
So in the end, I loved. I feel so grateful to have grown up in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because I got to see all these wonderful new technologies coming on.
Yeah.
But that advance where things I feel have got spoiled a little bit. Like all the pubs. We've got a lot of pubs that are shutting down, restaurants shutting down. Things have changed a lot. Nightclubs shutting down, and it's a shame. But living up in the 80s, was a great time.
Yeah.
I had a
And
BMX.
the music that came out of the 80s. I mean, what is your first recollection of one of your favorite songs when you were a kid? When you were a kid.
That is a good question. That is a good question. Well, what my favourite song is Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. That is my favourite all-time song.
Yeah.
I love Betty Davis Eyes.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, love that song. But oh gosh, I suppose my first thing with music was like electro music, like breakdancing, all that sort of stuff. Was when I really started getting into it. I used to do breakdancing as well, so it was all like, I don't know if you can remember the electro albums. You had Electro 1, Electro 2, Electro 3, Electro 4, Electro 5. Do you remember those?
Okay, so this is a confession of mine. I found out about electro, the whole genre of electro music, after seeing Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, really?
Because somehow it didn't make it over here, but we might have called it something different, because we did have breakdancing and hip hop. It was in the late 70s and early 80s. And, we had, Rappers Delight, people like that. But electro itself, I discovered that in the 2000s.
Well, I mean, house music was first introduced in Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember the song. This is how we started. My dreams are broken hearted. Girl, I want you, baby. I'll never be the same if you play the silly games. Sorry, I'm singing to you now. But that was the first house song that was released. Oh, you're back. You disappeared for a second.
With a Rooney there.
Oh. Oh. One of you's there. The other one's gone.
The tablet just had a seizure.
I'm just gonna put it back. Okay. Well, does that work? Is everybody there?
I'm here.
You're not there. Let me just press. Well, I can hear you. I can't see you.
Okay.
I can see you, Mom.
Okay, honey. I don't know what happened.
You might come back in a minute. It's just there's a circle and it says 80 in the middle, and that's all it says.
Oh,
which is weird.
Hold on a second.
Let me try and press it again.
Well, all right.
But the beauty of that pre-record, this is where you can do all your editing, isn't it? So.
Yeah, I know, right? That's not going to take long at all. Okay. Well, I think what happened is my phone finished charging. So maybe I'll be back. I hope. If not, you could just keep talking and I don't
Okay,
know.
let's keep talking. Yeah, let's keep talking.
So go ahead. You were talking about house music and your first recollection of.
I can't remember his name now, and I can't remember the name of the song, but yeah, that song, "Love Can't Turn Around," it was called.
Yeah.
And loved that song. I loved it, and I really sort of got into sort of like that sort of music, like the house music. I also love the chart music as well.
Yeah.
That was around in the time, in the 80s.
Right.
But I was one of these sort of 80s kids that were, that went with the trends.
Right. Okay.
So whatever was trendy, I was into.
Okay.
But I did like the house. I did like the house music, the breakdance music, and the breakdance movies. I don't know if you remember that. The breakdance movies.
I don't know.
You don't know.
It was, yeah, I think I can't remember if it's called breakdance or street dance. There was two movies, and there are two characters in them.
Breaking. The
Yeah,
breaking.
called Turbo and Ozone. Yeah, and that really got me into that.
Yeah. I prefer the first one to the second one, but everybody says the second one is like more dancing in it. I'm just like, okay, whatever.
But that's really where my music sort of like started. So I suppose that's why I like like the electric sort of like music that I'm really into, like the synth type music, synth type stuff.
Synth wave, synth pop,
Yeah, New Order,
little,
Depeche Mode, all that sort of stuff.
yeah, because I'm just trying to do this. There's a history here because it's just like I always tell people I'm just thoroughly convinced there's only like five real English bands in music because they've all kind of moved around with each other because there was because Andy Bell and Vince Clarke are Erasure, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were all with their, I think Andy Bell was with oh homeboy, what's his name? Bidure,
Well, that was Ultravox.
Ultravox, but then there was somebody else that did. So Depeche Mode had kind of a
So
synth.
Depeche Mode had Vince Clarke, who then
Very
went on to form Erasure with
right,
Andy Al, and he had Yazoo with Alison Moyet as well.
right. But then Andy, it was like something because like John Fox is considered like the grandfather of synth pop music or something. So, but then everybody says that Gary Newman is. So it's just like I never know anymore. But if you listen to like the early stuff, like you listen to early Depeche Mode, it's just very, just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. And then
Yeah,
of course later on they got very serious and very dark and and a lot of bands kind of went that way. Susie and the Banshees were like punk and then, they went into the whole, dark mode and stuff, but they're often considered
like
goth.
post punk type stuff.
Yeah, same with Psychedelic Furs. Psychedelic Furs is considered goth.
Pretty Pink, what a tune!
Oh man, there's the whole album that has what is that album? Because I always have a favorite album if I have like special people that I listen to, like my top five. Psychedelic Furs in my top five, and I can't think of the album, but I don't think Pretty Pink is on it, but it's a different version. It wasn't the original version; it was the movie version.
oh,
So
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. This is why I need my laptop so I can look all this stuff up on my phone. Well,
what
after
about a flock of seagulls? You remember those?
Seagulls, oh, Flock of Seagulls is
Ah,
definitely like,
a photograph of you.
Photograph of You is one of my favorites. And then of course, okay, so I tell you another confession. So here I'm watching MTV. I'm in my 20 something. MTV comes out and I'm watching it, and here comes Flock of Seagulls on with Iran. And
Oh, brilliant tune, yeah.
Mike, I believe that's the lead singer's name, because, if you watched, in the 2000s, you watched Behind the Bands or something. It was like 4 or 5 different bands that they brought to light as far as their history into music and stuff like that. Kajagoogoo was on it. Climax, I think, was on it. There was a bunch of people. They had all these mishaps and they broke up. The Flock of Seagulls was like one of the first bands that they showed. And every time it would open, he'd have like that one finger to sustain that note for the intro. Just cracked me the hell up. I'm like, homeboy, you're like killing it. If they had that phrase back in the 80s, like, dude, you're killing it. That one finger. He's just like, looking around and being all, And I thought, this is amazing. I love this. I love this song.
The 80s music. I mean, now, I mean, I don't know how you feel, Lisa, but it's like, I think that music nowadays, I mean, I do like music nowadays, don't get me wrong, I'm not just stuck in the 80s, it's just I like the 80s, but it's like, I feel like a lot of music nowadays, and I don't know if it's because it's all streamed, it just seems to be a lot of throwaway music, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually prefer the 80s. I was only in it for about 6 years, but I got a lot of it from my mother. But I preferred the upbeat liveliness and the soulfulness of the music in the 80s because a lot of that generated into some great music in the 90s for me. Some great genres and inspirations. And music now, it's kids. I ain't a kid. And they love to play, with their synthesizers and their, fake vocals and whatever, but that's what they're into. I'm sure it'll create something better maybe in about 10 years. But, I thoroughly enjoyed the 80s because it's such a precedent for a lot of music that I enjoyed, in the 90s, 2000s. So, and still today, the music is inspiring.
It sounded warm, didn't it? It sounded full.
Yeah.
Now everything seems, because everything's
very
gone
satisfying,
everything's gone
you got
digital.
a whole song, you got a whole song, you got a whole story, you got a whole moment, you know what I mean? And just, like now it's just like a little taste of something that may be a little exciting for right now, but I do enjoy some things, but they have to be very dancey, very poppy. It has to be something I can dance to or sing. If not, then it's, stays where it belongs and somebody else is streaming.
And
music, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, and this is what I was telling Lisa earlier, it just takes a massive creative entity like Running Up That Hill with Kate Bush.
Oh, what a tune! What a tune!
Jab me with that till I'm dead.
In a TV series, that people are probably going, what the hell? Who is she? Where is this coming from? And it just catapulted her 40 years later back up in the charts. She knocked Beyonce out of the top 10. She knocked her out of number 1. She stayed there for like 6 weeks, and I thought, man, she's still in the top 10. They can't.
Yeah.
They totally can't get rid of her.
Crazy. But she won't do any gigs. She did a gig. She came back and did a one-off gig, and we tried to get tickets, and I think within 5 minutes they'd sold out.
Yeah. She's like that. She's
in London, we tried to get tickets in London,
Yeah. But speaking of her, because I found out about her late in life, I do remember Running Up That Hill. She choreographed the whole video. She wrote, it was all Kate Bush all the time. And the fact that she's just that talented and just that amazing, is just, speaks volumes about, artists, during that time, and I mean, who else did we know that was like that besides like Prince or Michael Jackson or, somebody like that, had that much of a handle on their own music that said, yeah, no, I'm doing this. You're not touching it. Because God knows what would have happened, if it did. And she was a child prodigy too, which is very important to know. So, to be able to witness that now knowing that that was, occurring, like I said, 40 years ago, is phenomenal. And one of my favorite albums by her is Hounds of Love.
Yeah.
And
Got it on vinyl in the loft.
yeah, I don't have it on vinyl. I think I do have it on cassette though. So, but I also have it as an electronic entity as well. So,
Yeah.
which,
Well, that's it. It's just so easy now, isn't it? You've got Spotify, you've got Prime, you've got all these different streaming
yeah,
services.
yeah, and you have everything, and everything's at your fingertips. Just
Mm.
like my Weird Al rant that I went on yesterday on Instagram. All it took for me was to search for it at Spotify and press play. And not all of his albums are on there, but that's okay. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason for it. But to be able to just have that, you couldn't do that back then. You wanted a record, you had to go to a record store.
Yeah.
You
This is why artists are losing money now, and that's why they're not making any money. And it's really, it's quite sad. It's, for every stream now, the artist gets something like 0.00003 pence, whatever it is. It's ridiculous.
yeah, yeah,
It's nothing. You like you
yeah,
say, you used to have to go out there and buy it. You know.
yeah. If
Uh,
you if you just let because Lisa, I don't, she doesn't know. She knows I make music, but she doesn't know, how much, I get paid for it. I get paid $4 for every 1,000 plays of my
Mm-hmm.
song off Spotify. If that was
that's
a
ridiculous.
concert and I had 1,000 people in the audience, I'd get paid, 10 times as much.
Mm.
But it's just nobody does that. There's very few people now, except for the big mainstreamers, that go out and they
Yeah.
have concerts and tour and things
Mm.
like that. I never really
That's
spoke
it.
to it.
It's touring and merchandise now, isn't it? So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
that's the way they do it. That's how they make their money.
yeah. And it's so expensive for the merch too, because it's like, dude, it's a t-shirt. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not $50. You're not paying for the t-shirt. You're paying for
No. Yeah.
the, so it's just like, okay, yeah, I got t-shirts,
I've
but
done that twice in my life, and that was for Janet Jackson and for Green Day, and they were the only two. So
yeah.
Uh,
Well, it was a big deal.
nobody
Janet,
else.
Yeah, that Green Day concert was amazing.
I still have that, by the way.
That's awesome. One of the few times my daughter and I actually got to hang out in a concert together. The very first one, I'm gonna tell on you, it was Hanson back in the '90s.
Hanson.
Yeah.
Oh wow, Umbop.
Yes. I don't know
Call
if you've
me
ever heard,
out, Ma. Call me
I
out.
don't know if you've ever heard 25,000 screaming teenagers, but my God, it's
Umbop.
definitely, yeah. Yeah, but they actually, they did pretty well, for what they did. I think they did a bit to change the course of in genre of music as well.
Well, they
Did you?
wrote and did their own music, for Christ's
Yeah,
sake. I mean, that's better than all those other boy bands. They just danced around to their poppy music. At least they put some work into it.
yeah,
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 They
well,
had some talent, you know?
I did. Aren't they back on the road? I think they're back on
Yeah.
the road.
Yeah,
yeah.
they tour still, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah,
Ain't gonna get me to
it's
go to
like
one of those for another 20 years, though.
it's like the '90s just seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
It's just as it was, really, wasn't it?
It was, and in the '80s is even further back because, you
Yeah,
know, had
I have no concept of time. Everything was tomorrow or yesterday.
yes,
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Everything was yesterday.
yeah, I hate it when I have a recollection of something and they're like, oh yeah, that was 1987. Jeez, that was like how many? I was like, no, it wasn't. Don't
Don't
tell me.
don't do the math.
1987 was probably 86 and 87
Yeah.
were probably my two favourite 80s, years,
Okay.
of music, I would say.
Okay. Because
85 was pretty good as well.
yeah,
But I'd say 86, 87 were really good years.
yeah,
You had Depeche Mode Stripped, which was a classic
yeah,
song. But you had in '87. Do you remember Taylor Dane?
yes,
Tell It to My Heart.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, Yeah.
The great song. That was such a good
Heard her
song.
song earlier.
She was on Masked Singer.
Ooh, that girl tricked me on Masked Singer. That is like one of my favorite shows ever, and she like epically made me think she was Cyndi Lauper. I was so
Oh, she did.
mad.
I was it's
I
too. We
was so mad.
were
Hey, another great artist. Through Colours, Time After
yeah,
Time. You know,
yeah. And
there's
she's
some great.
doing it. She did that. She took over the Kinky Boots franchise and just ran with it, and she did it at a Broadway show and got all those Tonys and everything. And I just thought,
Mm.
but you can see that. You can really, I know she masked a lot of her, greatness with all the bracelets and the hair and the tutu skirts and all of that, but
Oh my
she was
god, that hair was so
amazing.
big.
Yeah,
Lord.
colors.
The pink, wasn't it pink? It's pink, wasn't
It was
it? Right,
pink
pink.
for a while, and then, she had, like it was red for a while, and then it was just like, man. But she was
Printing though.
to be reckoned with. And then, then she was like managing like, wrestling, the wrestling team or person that she managed. It was always in her videos. And then, she acted, which is great. She's in one of my favorite movies of all time, Vibes with Jeff Goldblum. And
Never seen it.
oh, you should. It's super cute.
I've
Got,
never seen it.
Peter Falk in it, and Jeff Goldblum, and it's actually, it comes off as, it's the typical 80s movie, but not really. It's, about somebody who's looking for, like, they're in Mexico and they're looking for, this idol or something, and everybody knows what it is, but anybody that's ever tried to go get it always ends up dying, and it's just like, so now she's the one who can like talk to spirits and things like that, and it's actually really interesting.
I'm gonna have to
So
watch that.
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to watch.
Goldblum is just amazing in everything.
I love Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah,
I've just watched the latest Jurassic Park, and he
you know,
still looks great, doesn't he? I
he
mean,
is great. He is, and I'm glad they brought all three of them back for that. So
yeah, Sam Neill and oh god, what's her name? What's the lady's name?
is it Laura Dern?
That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
the one. Yeah.
Bruce Dern's daughter. I like that's cute. There's Bruce Dern's daughter's in it, and then Ron Howard's daughter is Bryce Howard. So
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Ron Howard's was it? Yeah.
yeah, the red hair.
Ron Howard's done 13 Lives, hasn't he?
Yeah,
As well. She's
yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, he's one of my favorite directors. I love him.
Oh, it's brilliant.
He's another one that you thought, okay, well, this is it. What is it? Eddie Murphy used to call him Opie Cunningham.
Opie Cunningham.
Yeah.
Uh,
But you think, okay, here he is. He's Opie on, Mayberry. And then now he's, Richie Cunningham in Happy Days, and that's pretty much it. But no, he took that director's note
Oh.
and ran with it.
no, he's gone on to direct some of the great films. Didn't he
Yeah.
do? I might be wrong here. Did he do Hacksaw Ridge? I might be wrong. Something
I'm
I've
going
got
to have that one because I don't know. Because I don't think I've ever seen it.
a feeling he did that. I could
Yeah.
be totally, but
Yeah.
he's a great director.
Yeah, he is. He truly is.
I'd be happy if he directs my film. That'd be great.
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that would be great.
I would be fangirling all over the place.
Yeah.
Because I watched him on Happy Days, and then I watched his movies, and I love the transition. You know, he went from child actor to teen actor, but then he flipped it, and he got creative, and he started making his own. And you could tell, being in the business since childhood, that has affected, his movies and everything like that. He knows, this kid was paying attention, and it shows. And that's what
Yeah.
I like about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's done better than, well, I think any other cast, hasn't he, really? He's the one that's still
For sure.
present.
Even bigger than Henry Winkler, and he was supposed to be like,
Yeah,
the best one of the one. I mean, he still does, films and whatnot, and
Yeah.
great, but he's not to the extent of, of him.
No.
I mean, he has, masterpieces.
He's under the, he's in the, what is it? Adam Sandler entourage. You know,
Oh, yes.
he always puts
It's not
together.
a bad entourage, but, you know, it's kind of,
You know, they don't get the recognition that they deserve, and they don't always have, you know, the movie outlets that everybody else gets. And I mean, I get it. Mel Brooks, you know, did the same thing. So
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but he actually had some, you know, really good actors in his movies, whereas I think Adam Sandler just has like his friends.
It's just his friend, yeah.
Isn't it? Who's the guy? Who's the guy he always does in his films? Always. Deuce. I think he played Deuce Diggler or something in a film.
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually out
Oh,
on
yeah.
TV right
So,
now, which is scary.
He's actually in town right now, to be honest.
oh, is it?
Hi, Rob. Hi. Love you.
He's playing at the casino, at the Indian casino.
That's right. Break a leg.
Yeah, for sure. He's gotten weird over the last few years.
When he did the American Gigolo, the first one.
Yeah.
Bruce Gigolo. I don't know. I know what it is.
Deuce Bigelow, male Gigolo.
Yeah, that's what it
I love that movie. It was one of my favorites.
He had a certain quality about him, and he had you know, he kind of draws you in because he's very nonchalant, and you know, he has like those quirky facial movements and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's very physical. That's what I like about his comedy.
Oh my gosh, his daughter is like somebody super huge in the music industry.
Don't get me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I can't remember because he
Ellie King.
Thank you. Doesn't have the
I
same.
have a vendetta.
Uh-oh. We rant here in this program, Kev, just so you know. So if you have a rant, dear, feel free to.
No. I'm just in on this conversation. I'm just happy chatting away.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about the '80s where we just totally slid out of the park.
We did, didn't we? Do you want to come back to the 80s?
Jaunt through '80s music. So.
Yeah. We went from 80s music to I don't know how we got to.
I don't even know.
Rob Schneider.
I don't know. But yeah, right. Yeah, 80s music. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So I know that a lot of your. Okay, so we can't go back to '80s music just yet. You had a Depeche Mode cover band in the '90s.
Now, do you know what? That fact was actually wrong.
Oh.
Oh,
Wrong.
still.
No, it didn't. We had a so I started off in a duo
Okay.
with a friend.
Okay.
And then we did a like we put a show together, which was like a rock show.
Right.
And then I went back to the duo.
Mm-hmm.
And then my friend decided that he'd had enough, and I went off in another duo. But my first duo was called Reprise.
Okay.
And we probably did 3 Depeche Mode songs.
Okay.
But I don't know where they got that that from, to be fair.
Yeah.
We did Just Can't Get Enough and Enjoy the Silence and It's No Good. And that's the 3 Depeche Mode songs that we did, and that was it.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's cool. So
yeah. So
anything
there you go.
more than 2, you're a cover band.
Yeah. I don't know where they got it from. I really don't.
That's okay.
Crazy.
Put it in the movie, then you can't contest it, I guess. I don't know.
When I heard it on Drew's News, I was like, hey? Because I phoned my best mate up who I was in the duo with, and I was like,
yeah.
we were never a Depeche Mode cover band. He says, well, we did do a few. I says, yeah, but we didn't just do Depeche Mode. We did everything from, Spandau Ballet to, Simple Minds, everything.
No, all of these people.
Yeah.
Spandau Ballet, it was actually kind of, so every time I hear them, they were like New Romantic, right? Were they?
Yes.
Okay. And someone asked them once who are they in direct competition with, and they said probably Duran Duran.
I was about to say Duran Duran.
Really?
Yeah.
I
That
never
was
really looked at. Okay, so I never really looked at Duran Duran as New Romantic. Maybe Heaven 17 was New Romantic.
yes.
OMG,
Human League,
Human
maybe.
League. Yeah, definitely.
I think Duran Duran did go through a phase where they were new romantic. In fact, I'm not
HP.
sure if they sort of created the new romantics in the very early 80s, like, but the very, very early 80s. But
Right.
they're actually playing, I think, at the Hollywood Bowl tonight, I think.
Are they? Wow. Ooh.
Yeah, I think because my friend's wife knows Nick Rhodes. Is friends with Nick Rhodes.
I want to be friends with Nick Rhodes. He's my favorite.
Oh really? Well, she says she was going to try. I can't obviously I can't drop names, but yeah, she says she's trying to hook up with him while he's here just to have a chat and something to eat. But yeah,
Just a little
it's
side.
crazy the people, it's crazy the people you meet.
Well, yeah, and be able to like know these people and like interact with them and things like that. When I first started, when I first decided, okay, this is it, no more mucking about. I'm gonna make this album. It's gonna happen. And everybody kept telling me, no, don't do a cover album for your first album. And it's just like, oh, what do you know? Anyway, so I haven't actually, but it's still in the works. But I reached out on Twitter. This is like 2010, 12. I reached out to people to produce it. And this is just how gullible and Pollyanna I am. So I reached out to Nick Rhodes, Nile Rodgers, uh, who's the guy that produced all of Michael Jackson's albums?
Oh gosh.
Jones. What's his name? I can't
Oh,
remember. He did like the Off the Wall and the
oh
Need
gosh.
You. Yeah. Anyway, that guy. And it was a good. And I thought, hey, they produce albums. Why can't they produce mine? And I remember telling my friend at work, and he's like, well, I guess after they stop laughing, they'll probably just end up deleting it. He's like, because you know how hard it is to get in and see these people, even just to get into a record producer, DMs, as let alone, somebody like
it's
that.
just the music business is just so difficult. It's so difficult. I mean, yeah, it really is. You can be on all the TV shows and all the newspapers in the world and
Yeah.
still not making any money out of it.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that I want to say maybe, okay, so I have to ask you this because I'm a rabbit trailer and I'm going to ask you this. Okay. So I know you've heard of a band called Johnny Hates Jazz.
Johnny Hates Jazz. I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually had a little interaction with them in the 2000s, and I'm not going to get into that. It's a story unto itself. Um, but I remember listening to an interview with Clark, and he actually said, and I'm not making this up, that in the 80s in Britain, for example, the UK in general, the government encouraged musicians to like make records and go on tour to build money for the economy. Is that like something you've ever heard, or is that true?
I've never heard that, but bear in mind in the 80s. I was what I was very young,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's not something I've ever heard, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, because the BBC is owned by, it's not a public entity, it's a government entity, correct? BBC?
I don't actually know.
Okay. All right. Because I thought, television, because you have to have a television license to own a television, right?
Yes, you do, and only because of the BBC.
Right.
Sorry, you said what?
It's because of the BBC, because the BBC don't have adverts, so you have to pay, you have to cover that cost basically with a TV license. So like you've got over here, we've got ITV, we've got Channel 4, we've got Channel 5 as our main sort of TV stations outside of all the other channels.
Yeah.
And they all have adverts which cover their costs, so to speak. But the BBC doesn't have any adverts. So if we didn't have the BBC, we probably wouldn't have to pay a license.
Yeah.
Because that's paying for, sort of like, the other ones that you're having, they've got adverts and they haven't got the adverts, if that makes sense.
And just the broadcast.
Very expensive. They make you do that.
Well,
So what's,
it is, and I'm not sure if it's a whole lot. I don't think it's a whole lot, but it's it's unusual. I know you couldn't get away with that here, first of all, because the UK is actually quite small. It's not as big as So I think in a way they can kind of get away with that, but here, oh my God, yeah, people would be throwing. It'd be like at the beginning of Second City Television, everybody's throwing their TVs out of the window.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's what we have here.
So it's like petrol prices here at the moment are ridiculous. They're like £1.97. So that'd probably be a litre. So that's probably and in dollars, I'm guessing that'd be probably about $2.50, I think, maybe.
That would be, people would be lining up you'd never get gas if they were $2.50 for a gallon.
Yeah, it's probably about that. It's, or probably about 2.20, I think, maybe. I don't know what the pound is to the dollar at the moment, but I'm guessing it's definitely be over $2 for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like balanced itself out, with the pandemic and everything. But it's $5 a gallon because we don't do as imperial. We use gallons. We don't use liters. But so it's $5 here pretty much, depending on where you go. It's more expensive other places. Like in California, it's more expensive than it is.
Oh yeah, the East Coast.
Yeah,
it wasn't like this in the 80s.
Yeah, I know. Back when I was a kid.
I know.
Oh my gosh, it was too funny. So, just to wrap things up, I was going to ask Miss Lisa, to explain her favorite, because she, like she said, she had 6 years in the 80s. She was born in 1984. So,
which I personally think is the best year of music in the 80s, but that was just me.
I have to go with that.
Thriller. Okay, that's all I have to say. Anyway, go ahead.
And what a short movie as well. What a short movie.
I know, right? Loved it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Very first time I saw that video, it was just like this disclaimer alone was like, oh my gosh, he's involved in the occult? Who said that?
No, can you remember the video? I mean, the video was just like mind blowing, wasn't it, at the time?
It was totally
phenomenal. It still is. I mean,
yeah.
This day can quote that whole.
Well, that year and that time. I mean, you think about it. No, it's never been bettered, has it? Nobody's ever bettered.
No, not at all. In any way.
They've tried, but they can't. It's just, it's like the first time you see, pick a band, the first time you get to see, Aha, Take on Me.
Yeah, where it pulls into
the visual of the animation and everything. No one had used that before. And it was just like, oh, what is that? And they'll actually remember the video. They won't remember the song. They know the video. Right? Like, well, who does it?
It was such a turning point for them because they was about, apparently, and I was saying this like apparently, record company was about to drop them, apparently.
Yes. Yes. And that was the second choice.
They had this song, and it was already done with this video.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they said, well, we might as well, it's done, we might as well just put it out, and it just flew. I mean, it just went number one, it just took off like a rocket, and that was it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, you know, when you have entities like that, you know, they make a name for themselves and they don't quite get as far as they should, you know, it's just, you know, I think about them. I think about Big Country. You know, they should have got way more recognition than they should have.
Dan Jericho, do you remember Dan Jericho?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I've been interacting with him just lately.
Nice.
Yeah. It's Mark Shaw, the lead singer. Yeah, I've been interacting with him a little bit. I mean, there's some fantastic songs, but they're still touring.
Yeah, and then, you know, then you have like Talk Talk with Mark Hollis,
Yeah.
God rest his soul. They had some amazing music. They were just one of my favorite songs that they've done is Life's What You Make It, and the live version.
And Talk Talk as well was good.
Talk Talk, yeah. Such a Shame is my favorite Talk Talk song. But Miss Lisa was going to tell us about her favorite 80s song. Weren't you?
Yeah, go for it. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, my favorite 80s song?
Yeah.
My favorite 80s song, everything that has to do with that has to do with my mom. Okay. First and foremost, she's my bestest friend in the whole entire world. She's the best mom. Her love of music has shaped 3 other generations of music lovers. And my earliest memory is watching this video. My mom, just like, you know, how you used to do with the radio, you catch your favorite song and you'd record it. Well, she did that when MTV came out. She had a recorder and she had made a video of all of her favorite 80s videos. And the one that I remember seeing and listening to that caught my attention, it was Boy George, and it was Karma Chameleon. And the colors, the song, the beat, his look, he looked like nothing I'd ever seen before. I grew up in a very urban city, very dull, nothing like that. And, by this time, it's, almost the 90s, but still, I'd never seen anybody like that before. So I was like, oh, who is this magnificent man? He's so beautiful. And then I'm listening to the words and I'm like, oh, wow, he's singing and dancing and colorful. And I'm like amazed, mind blown. And, I loved it to this day because, as an adult now, I listen to the lyrics and it's just like, wow, that's just so powerfully wonderful in an upbeat manner. Like the words are so deep and just you can feel them. We've all been there. There's a part in the song where he says, you're my lover, not my rival. And it took me till I was an adult to figure out, oh my God, yeah, I know what you're talking about here, but you're making it like your feelings are coming out so soulful and joyful that, even though they are a little dark, it's still really powerful. And it always empathized with my whole life. I'm just Karma Chameleon. I'm just coming and going and showing my colors. And ever since then, it was just my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, they're still going, aren't they? And they're still making, they're still making music. And he started off. I mean, when he first started off, he was living in a squat.
Mm-hmm.
In London. Yeah. A derelict house.
Okay.
With no money, no nothing, but belief.
Wow. See,
and that was it. He believed he could do it, and well, the rest is history.
Yeah, it is. Truly is. I mean, I can go on forever, but I mean, he speaks for himself. I mean, just look at him.
Yeah.
He is who he is, and it showed, and it flowed, and it all made sense, you know. So that's why.
And you can't you can't believe he's 60 years old now, can you? You know,
I
when you look at
know,
it.
right?
I know.
Gorgeous.
And he's been through so much too. I mean, he lost his brother, you know, I believe, his brother, I think he had mental illness already. And then he had substance abuse on top of that. And I think that's what he
Yeah, he
lost.
did. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I know he was into. Yeah, he had a bad time with drugs, didn't he? Real bad
Yeah.
See,
time.
I can't imagine making that kind of music without having something behind that
Mm,
motivation of, you know, mental
Yeah.
illness or addiction, because it has to broaden your horizon to something that others don't see, you know,
Right.
and it often takes something a little more than the everyday to see that, unfortunately. And, you know,
Well, yeah.
works for
It's,
us, sucks for them, you know, as an
yeah.
artist, it, you know,
Yeah.
it's bad on their life, but for like the fans and the world, it's amazing for us, you know, but they had to go through the trenches to get to there, you know.
Hmm.
I think
well,
a lot of 80s music and artists were like that. They had to dig through the trenches to get those, you know, words, to get those beats, to get those, you know, lyrics and stuff like that. That's why it's so meaningful, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't
I
just
mean,
him.
look, the song they did, "Victims." I mean, what a song that is!
Yeah.
That is a
Yeah.
Yeah.
fantastic song, absolutely fantastic. But I remember him saying that when they did Live Aid, and
Hmm.
there was with them there was recording the album. And I remember Boy George saying, you know, they were in the toilets, you know, snorting cocaine, you
Yeah.
know, in
Yeah.
between like their takes and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
Because it's
know,
just,
it's just what they you know they did. I
I
well,
suppose
would
yeah.
have to
back
do a lot of cocaine to do Live Aid, because that's a lot of people.
then.
All that attention on you at once. I don't know. I would be in the bathroom on the
Well, it was
porcelain.
well, it was while they was recording the song.
You
The song was
know.
Band Aid, wasn't it? Yeah, Feed the World, and yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
chorus that came out of that. Yeah.
And then you think, you catapult, to move forward, and here we are. We lost both Michael Jackson and Prince. And,
Good sis.
uh, because,
George.
pillars, George Michael, God rest,
I
he's
know.
just like he's like a whole episode on his own, you
Well, say, don't
know.
Mm.
get me started on Careless Whisper. Okay, I'll be here all
But, it may not have been, their substance of choice. It may not have been cocaine. It may not have been marijuana. It may not have been heroin or whatever. But, all those years of touring and all those years of recording and Michael with all the dancing and everything, you know, they, they're, they're beat down. They're tired. They're overworked and, they have to keep going. And it's little record labels, you got to keep going. You got to tour. You got to make another album. You got to do this. You got to do live stuff, and it's just, where does it end?
the
Unfortunately, sometimes it ends when you do, you
they
know?
just, well, they're just pushed to the limit, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. So in a way, people like me, I just, okay, yeah, I'm 62 right now and, I've got three whole songs under my belt. It, do I want to go out on tour? Are you kidding me? Tour what? Old folks homes? I mean, pretty much going to be the extent of it, I don't
Didn't
see
you
a whole.
already do your old folk home tour when you're
I
like
did.
30?
Well, I was actually 40, and I worked at a nursing home. Thank you very much. And every so often, they would have me come in the day room and sing a few of the oldie songs. Like it had to be you. Like, oh, that's just like, Rosemary Clooney. And just,
Oh goodness.
well, she never sang that song, but I appreciate it. But people love, you know, being remembered. They love reminding, they love the nostalgia. And I think, when you incorporated Depeche Mode into your band, Kev, I think, you probably don't, you know, call me out on it if you want, but you probably got a lot of recognition for that. You know, people love hearing something familiar. You know, they love it.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, on on the Drew Barrymore show when she said, you can hear the Depeche Mode sort of
Yeah,
the sounds and you don't have to live like this. And
right.
yeah, I guess you're right. It is because I love that sound. So that's the sound I'll keep making. I think.
Yeah, and you do have an amazing voice, and you do sound wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
And same to you as well.
oh, thank you. I'm just because I'm just so old. I think I don't really know
Oh
how to
hush.
sing any other way. You know, actually, I had a curator tell me that I wouldn't fit in his playlist because I sounded too classic.
Really?
I'm like, really? I'm assuming he's probably like all of 20. And, you know, he's been listening to like Ariana Grande or Beyonce or somebody, and he wanted somebody to fill in, you know, with everything that sounds like everything else. And I've never been
Nobody
that.
sings like Ariana and Beyonce anymore anyway. It's nothing. Like, if you listen to some of the stuff they play right now, I don't even think half of them know how to read, to be
No,
honest.
no.
Well, you even got now. Even now, you've got like live auto tune on stage.
Okay, here's a perfect example. We have Elton John, and he just released something with Britney.
Yeah.
Okay, they both sound like T-Pain. Okay, neither one of them is singing. It's obviously auto-tuned. It's just a remix. There's no new lyrics. It's just a remix
It's
of
all.
an older song. You know what I mean? And it's not even using their voices. You know what I mean? You can obviously tell it's electrified for the new age children because that's what they like. You know, my son, he listens to mumble rap is what they call it, and it makes me want to frankly commit suicide because it's so freaking depressing. I'm
That's
like, what is going on? Like, I don't know.
it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. I mean,
It's
Elton,
bad.
Elton John is very, very clever because what he does,
Mhm.
Yeah.
um, and you'll notice over the last 10, 15 years, um, he'll collaborate
Yeah.
with the latest, biggest artists.
Yeah. Flavor.
hmm
Like Britney coming back, Britney coming back's a big thing. It's going to be a
That's a
Yeah.
hit. So
huge thing. She hasn't released
yeah, so
music in forever.
he'll collaborate with
Yeah.
her, and he's done that. He's done that with a lot of artists, big artists, and
Yeah.
hmm
that keeps him current. Because if he was just releasing songs as Elton John, I don't think anybody would be interested
No.
anymore.
No, yeah, I don't think so. If he had anything new and anything like he used to, I don't think anybody would.
And
Kids
I
don't
hate
have the attention span for that.
I hate to throw the age card in there, but he is over 70. Okay, and he's not going to sound like he did in 1971, who's doing Benny and the
No,
Jets.
but you can obviously tell that his music is being tailored to the new generation. It's not,
Oh, it is. Well, look
you
what he
know,
did. Cold,
his,
cold heart.
it's not
It's
like
newer and
classic
what
Elton John or anything. I mean, for God's sake, no one's going to be,
when you.
falling over for anything that he's done with, what was her name? Dua Lipa.
Well, see, that's just it. That was the beginning to me
Yeah.
because I only heard the song on TikTok. And then when I actually listened to the song, as soon as he opens, it's the human heart. And I thought, oh, that's auto-tuned to hell in that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
It's
awful.
awful, isn't it?
And then you get the next part, you know, hot done by you. And I'm thinking, okay, I know exactly what they did. They had him sing. They auto-tuned his voice. This next part actually is part of the original song that they threw
hmm
in there. And then she comes in, you know, and I think it's gonna be a long, long time. And I'm like, that's the only new part of the whole song. And I
And
thought,
she's one of those artists I'm saying that don't even sing like
yeah,
Beyonce or Ariana
no,
Grande.
that's it.
She's a entertainer is what I
Yeah.
like to
Mm.
call. Yeah. Not a
Yeah,
singer.
it's just about I don't know. having the hits, isn't it? It's about him getting his next hit, and that's he's done it.
Staying relevant, relevant to the new generation, so no one's like, oh, who the fuck's Elton John,
Well,
but, we do Britney Spears is so, whoever. And, oh, hang on a minute, my wife's waving me. What's the matter? What time is it? Sorry.
12 minutes after 7, I think.
What time is it? I'm in interview. What time is it, darling? 7 past 7. How long have I got? 10 minutes. Okay. No problem.
Sorry, Mr.
Apologise.
I
apologise. I didn't realise we'd been on that long. I'm really enjoying it.
I know. I was like, we could be here all day.
We're
going to have to do another one, aren't we, at some point?
I think so, yeah.
This is actually
nice to have 3 like minds.
Yeah, this is actually going to be 2 parts. I decided while we were talking. And, part 3 because I'm the host.
Let's do that.
But I don't know if you guys over in the UK, you don't get Uber Eats over there. Do you get Uber Eats?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
Oh, okay. Did you get the commercials that he did with Little Nas? Elton John. Okay,
No.
so him and Little Nas did the Uber Eats commercials. He ordered something and then Little Nas ordered something. And then, there's one where he's sitting on this, I call it a trolley horse. It's like one of those little, horses outside of the grocery store. And he's sitting there and he's like, hey mate, he's like, you got a pound for me horse? And, Little Nas was looking at him and was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he's like, I'm skint. Just a pound. Couple pence. And I'm thinking, was that like a real thing? Is he using again because he's broke and it's like his subtle way of telling people, or is he just poking fun? I don't know.
He's probably making fun of himself.
Yeah, definitely making fun.
Yeah, but he's actually really cool.
I do. I like him.
My gosh. All the alerts are starting to come in.
He's a good artist, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, and he goes back so far. Everybody goes back. I mean, look at Tom Jones, for God's sake. He's like the granddad. He's like our Tony Bennett.
I love Tom Jones.
With Tom Jones, though, he's still got the voice, though, hasn't he? He's still got that power.
He does.
He has like some massive charismatic entity just flowing from him. When he opens his mouth, it's just like you have to stop, stare, and drop your panties. It's just instinctual.
You say that. Women used to throw the pants at him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Who is that group? They wrote a song called Tom Jones, Tom Jones. And her line was, I can never throw my knickers at you. And he, it's a band. I'm gonna find the song. Band. It's an actual band. They actually started out as something else, and then they had to change their name, because that name was already used. But they wrote a song called Tom Jones. You saved our life, Tom Jones, Tom Jones. And, it's a great song. If you ever listen to it, it's about a couple that actually hate each other, but then they heard a Tom Jones song and now they're like madly in love.
Catatonia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's such a great song. It is so awesome. But I digress. When I was a kid in the 70s, I lived with my grandmother and she raised me. And Tom Jones is like a relevant. He's brand new. What's new, Pussycat? Even though I think that was like 60s. But I was not allowed to talk while he was on TV.
Oh.
Because he did, Tom Jones is on.
Did you get that? So,
yeah.
And
I'd be like, okay. And then I got older and I realized, oh my God, she's jonesing for Tom Jones. My grandmother's like 80. Oh, Jesus. I can't unsee that.
You're my old favorite, Jones. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But, it just goes to show you, every generation has their Tom Jones, And,
Absolutely.
yeah, but, anyway, so, thank you so much, Kev. This has been great. I'm glad to be able to introduce you to, our audience. You're the first, and you and my daughter, Lisa, are like the first guests for my
It's nice to
podcast.
meet you. Well,
Uh-huh.
so it was nice to meet you as well, Lisa.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's lovely meeting you. I don't
Yeah.
interact with
And
humans a lot, so this is nice.
well, let's do it again.
Yeah. And, so what we're going to do now is we're ending the show, and how, when I used to do the podcast, back in the day with my friend Dave, he used to always let people do like shout outs for their social medias. So, ladies first, Miss Lisa, who are you on social media?
I only have one social media, and that's
Okay.
Lady Marie 84, of course, on Instagram,
Okay. And that's a
or
great thing.
the one and only Lisa Marie on Facebook.
Technically that is too.
I don't think of it as that. I think of them as one.
Well, technically it is because, Facebook owns everything. And then
Yes.
you can,
Oh, I'm Kev Crane, the same plumber.
yeah.
On Instagram and Facebook. If you want to give me a follow, anybody out there listening, that'd be great.
Yeah. And you're also on Spotify too. So,
I'm on all streaming platforms. Yeah, all of them.
yeah. So
And
that's,
I've got a website as well, which is kevcrane.com. But yeah, I am on all streaming platforms. So yeah.
Sweet.
awesome. We just had a guest approach in the show. My cat Mufasa decided that he wants to remind me that it's time for snacks. So
Oh,
I am.
okay.
I'm 80s Music Girl on Twitter. I also have 80s Music Girl on Instagram, and I have a fan page on Facebook. Big shout out to all the folks on Facebook for the numerous. I'm like, where are you people coming from? I have no idea. But thank you again, both of you. If you have any parting words to society, Kev, our condolences to the kingdom for the loss of Queen Elizabeth.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, she's a beautiful woman, and she's like, she didn't look like it, but she had a force. She was a force to be reckoned with for sure. And how she
Oh,
managed
I saw the forest. She was a
17
wonderful
years,
woman.
Yeah,
17
sure
years
was.
is a long time for anything, so she made it work, and let's hope her kids can follow
Yeah,
suit and take it seriously and do well by her.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So anything you want to say, Miss Lisa?
Oh, no, good.
Okay. All right. Well, we're done. I think,
Right.
yeah, thank you for being here, and give me at least a week for it to publish, and we'll see what happens. It'll probably come out on Podbean, but you never know. I'll surprise
Oh,
you.
Thank you
yeah.
for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thank
You
you for
take care,
being here.
and you
That's
be
no.
safe.
You
And
too, and have a lovely weekend.
thank you. You too. I'm just gonna hang up, I think.
All right.
Bye for now.
See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye. Yeah. Bye bye.